Hey everyone, welcome back to Ebony with Genghis. So today, gonna look at subordinate city generals, how to set them up, and subordinate cities, I guess. I might as well do it all at once. For beginners, but you wouldn't believe how many people who've been playing for over a year, over 2 years, don't understand this stuff. So let's get right to it. It's pretty simple. So subordinate cities, they have a purpose, right? They have a skill. So if you click on Japan, its main skill is attack. This other skill, research production speed, who cares? If we go, where is it here? If we go to preview down here, you could see what they all do. And this is basically what you're going to be looking at. When you change culture, there's something else, right? There's the culture buff you get, but we're only looking at the subordinate city skill. So your main city, should really only have Russian or Japan subs. Maybe Korea if you are early game and you're, trying to gather a lot, or China, get more production so that you can grow. But for the most part, if you're a serious player and you care about things like getting Wonder 1, playing Battlefield, you need to choose if you want Japan or Russian. Because, things like this, Europe, it helps your architecture, like building faster. Chinese, little bit of resources, but that doesn't add up to too much. Korea, gathering. Gold for USA, it is gold and research improvement. Russia, defensive attack. Healing for Arabia. So if you rally a lot, like if you really just want to do player versus event and just kill monsters, Arabia might be your best bet because you'll be filling your hospital, killing some big monsters. But for most people, it's going to be Russia or Japan. How do you decide? So if you're a small player who ghosts all the time, you don't need Russian because you have no troops home to defend. So you should have Japan. If you're a bigger player who, let's say you got a lot of power, you got a lot of family members who help with power, but you're not the rally setter, you're not a VIP 20, VIP 19, you're probably going to be better off with Russia as well. This will allow you to live longer and help your defense more in Battlefield while joining rallies. But if you're one of those players who solo attacks a lot, a VIP 18, 19, 20, 21, and your team rallies, and then one guy finishes the person off, and that's you're going to be using those Japanese subs to do that. Or if you have a lot of war on your own server and you want extra attack, then you're going to use Japan. Generally, Japan is more valuable than Russia, like if you were to trade them for each other. So first I'm going to go over the gear you want to put. So this is a perfect example of what you need to put on your general. So for the weapon, it really matters. So which one you want to use out of these two helmets is up to you. Just think, what attacks you more? Horse, because that's the debuff, right? You want the negative number on your subs. Horse attack is hard to debuff, so you might want to think about having that because it's one of the only places to get it. Ground troop HP, pretty easy to debuff. Ground troop defense is pretty difficult to debuff. So by this thinking, I would probably have 50-50, one of each. So if you have 8 subs, have 4 of each. But you also just think, what attacks me? Like you might get to see that a little bit. What are they hitting me with? And then you might want to choose that one, like 6-2 or 8-0. Chest piece. Some of these are really simple. So look at this one. This has mounted troop defense debuff, and this one has mounted troop and siege attack. So obviously you're going to pick the courageous Achaemenid. Pants. Range troop defense and siege machine attack, or mounted troop attack. Siege attack is super easy to debuff. You'll get to the max. And when I mean super easy, I mean you can only debuff 50% of what the other guy has. So if he has 1,000 siege attack and you have 500 siege attack debuff, you will debuff the maximum amount, 50%. If you have 600 siege attack debuff, you will only debuff 500, the maximum amount, 50%. So you don't need to go with all that. So basically this comes down to range troop defense versus mounted troop attack. I'd probably recommend going with the mounted troop attack. You know, it's harder to find. Go with more of that than this one. On the boots, this is another easy one. One has siege attack and one has siege attack and mounted troop attack. So you should always be going with the courageous. Now this ring, this in Evany about a year ago, before civilization gear, the status, the meta that people used to use was 5 range troop attack debuff and 4 mounted troop and ground troop. So you would go 5 of the range, 4 of this, but that was for a dual purpose two-way player. So if you're a person who defends a lot, you're going to want to debuff range attack more. If you're a person who attacks more, you're going to want to debuff mounted troop HP, right? That's why Andrew Jackson, we're going to get into him. That's why he's such a valuable subordinate city general, because those are the 2 of the hardest things to debuff. You want to debuff mounted troop HP when you're attacking, and you want to debuff range troop attack when you're defending. So it's up to you to decide what type of player you are. Now, if we look at these, enemy siege attack, so never use the bow. It's not worth it. And then on this one, this is the spear. So if you're like a T1 trap, or you're someone who, you know, you're in that 1.5 to 3 billion range and people try to ground solo you, you might want to think about going with a lot of spears. Axes, they are kind of a little bit outdated now, right? I still have a lot of axes, but maybe I should switch to some grounds. But for me, people don't really ground me till the end. So I probably should be thinking about what people are attacking me with right at the start with their first attacks. So sword, this is only mounted troop attack. But for most people, your debate is going to be how many axes and how many spears. If you're smaller, you probably want more spears. If you're more well-rounded, you probably want a 50-50 split. It used to be 7-2. You'd want 7 axes, 2 spears. But now it's more people are specializing, and you really just want to fight off that first couple attacks. So that's pretty much what you're going to do with your gear. So in old Evany, before K40, the status quo was 8 Andrew Jacksons and 1 CC. Now that you can ascend generals, it's a completely different ballgame. Generally, if you don't coin at all, you're probably going to want 7 Andrew Jacksons for his reduce enemy range and mounted HP, and then 2 CCs. That's kind of what people are talking about. And then you could go in the tavern and get them and upgrade them, star them up to level 10. Now, there are all sorts of better generals now, but free-to-play players can't really get their hands on them. So, you know, if you have an Emir and he's 5 stars, he sucks. Don't use him. Even at 7, he's just getting useful. And that's only if you can do his suppress skill as well. Darius is a really good one, really good at 7 stars. But these pay ones are difficult to get. Nordic Barbarian is awesome, and he's available in events. So as a free-to-play player, you can actually get your hands on him. And if you can get him to 6 or 7 stars, I would get him. I'd highly consider a Nero. Debuffing HP by 35% is really good if you can get him to 7 stars. Baldwin, he's not good at 5 stars. You really have to start to level him up to make him worth it. That's pretty much it. All these other ones, got to sell him. And all these other ones, they aren't really worth it. The only free generals that you're going to want to look at in the tavern are CC, Nero, and Andrew Jackson. And you should have a lot of them. And it's up to you to do the math of what you need to debuff. So, and you'll look and you'll be like, oh wow, what am I debuffing properly? Right? So if I look at this siege attack 2325, that is so high. And if you look at my siege attack 1162 debuff, I debuffed the entire thing. So I don't need any more of that. But what did I not debuff, right? That's what you got to look at. So mounted troop HP 1331. I'm only 554. I got to improve that. So I got to look at ways to improve a horse HP debuff or overall HP debuff. Now, What skills books are you going to put on them? So the pretty much the standard books that you're going to put, every single subordinate city general needs this book. This is the most important one, Rebirth. Then you want this one, Training Speed. Then in Old Evany, everyone wanted Training Capacity because you wanted the most amount of troops in there possible in your subordinate city. Now, some people are switching to a gold book to help out a little bit, get an extra, I think I did the math. It was about an extra 100 million gold you could get in a month from your sub-cities if you had them all with gold books. That might not be a lot, but it does help, and you get some gold in various ways, right? But Evany has now introduced your sub-troops, they seem to stay alive. They're not dying. So maybe people can actually reach that capacity eventually. So it might be helpful to use them. Now, one other tip I'm going to give you is putting on those skill books. You want to use level 1 skill books first. So I'm going to just find a random general here, actually. So right here, this guy has a gold skill book. So what you got to do is you need to go down to level 1 and you got to pick a book. So I'm just going to put on one that I have a lot of, so I'm not wasting it. So I'm going to put a range troop book on, and then if I was using level 4s, they might displace each other. See, they just took each other away. So you got to use level 1s, and then you just keep playing around here until you get 3 books. And I don't care which books these are because I'm going to sell this general and I have lots of books. So you see how hard it is? I'm not getting that 3rd book yet. It's still not coming on. There it is. I now have 3 skill books. Now what I would do is go up here. I'm not going to do this step for you, but I'm just showing you. So I'd go up to my level 4. So mounted troop defense, and I would press that button and I would put it on and it would replace the exact same book. That way you're using your books efficiently and you're not wasting the level 4s trying to get them all lined up perfectly. So one other thing I want to touch on is there is some high level gear that you can use that you have to pay money for though. So here's one, the Augustus piece. If you put 2 pieces on, you will recover the 2 out of 6 debuff -10 versus the Achaemenid -15 that I'm missing out on, but they do have better buffs. And then there is some other buffs on certain other items that aren't generally used on subs, like right here, -30 range attack, and then that's not a good example. There's another example right here, -30 Ares gear for chest piece. So if you're looking for other debuffs, they are available on other pieces of gear, but you'll have to go through them and see which works for you. And then of course there are the spirit beasts or dragons. I do have mine actually. My Norway Ridge is on a sub at the moment, and the reason why is because he gives -35 horse HP debuff. And then if we look at some of the spirit beasts down here, they are also giving out some debuffs. So yeah, I just found better use for them having them on subs. So that's pretty much it. Subs are for debuffs. That's the most important thing here. Do not use dragon gear. I can't tell you how many people I've helped out and I went in their account and I saw this type of gear on their sub and there's no debuffs there, and they actually refined it. So, and Ares gear, there was no useful debuffs, and they just want to put stuff on their subs just so they had gear, and it doesn't work. It doesn't help. You just have to put Achaemenid gear and don't refine it. It doesn't matter, and that's it. So let me know in the comments what you do with your subs, and like, subscribe, leave a comment.